Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So this is going to be my Supergirl Season 2 video. They're basically like from the ground up changing the show. They're doing Superman, they're doing Superboy, Mon-El, they're doing Miss Martian, they're doing Legion of Superheroes, and they're doing Lex Corp. So this is going to be a breakdown of all the crazy stuff that's happening. So let's start with the biggest stuff first, Superman. What's going on with him? So I think, Superman is going to be butting heads with Kara because she has this idea about how she's supposed to be a superhero, but he's been doing it. He's like the gold standard and is going to be like, okay, yeah, so you're doing a couple of these things wrong. I don't totally agree with it. So he'll kind of be a big brother in that effect where he's trying to mentor her a little bit. And the show is going to be doing problems that are big enough to warrant his presence. As far as I know, he's only going to be in the first 2 episodes of the season, then he'll come back later on a recurring basis. So they have like a 2-hour story that they broke in half that they're going to tell to lead off the season. It'll be 22 episodes total. I'm expecting to see Superman, like physically see Superman, in less than half of those. But one of the other big changes in the way they tell stories, like Superman is a big part of the way they're telling stories this season. One of the big changes from when it was on CBS in season 1 is that it's going to be heavily serialized in the vein of The Flash. So like on The Flash, they had like the big zoom arc that went over the entire season. There'll be things like that happening on Supergirl season 2. So there'll be like really big stories and really small stories that only go over a couple episodes. One of the big stories is Cadmus Labs. If you don't know what Cadmus Labs is, think of it as like a slightly more evil version of Star Labs and Mercury Labs on The Flash. So because The Flash has used the particle accelerator explosion as a way to surface new villains, like, this big explosion goes off and creates all these metahumans. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, and it leads to all these crazy adventures. So I think Cadmus Labs is going to be the catch-all for them to surface really weird, really crazy stuff. If you haven't read a lot of comics, most people's only point of reference for Cadmus Labs is clone Superboy. So what I think is going to happen is we'll see a bunch of people from the Superman, Supergirl comics come out of Cadmus Labs, like them experimenting, doing really crazy stuff. But here's the thing, I don't think that they're going to do clone Superboy. I think the TV show is going to do a version of Superboy. I just think that it's going to be Mon-El, because the TV show has kind of already done a clone of Kara, and that was what Bizarro was in season 1. So just careful for spoilers for Supergirl season 1. And I'll explain why they're probably not going to do the Connor Kent that you remember from the comics or even from Young Justice. I feel like most people's point of reference for Connor Kent is actually Young Justice. But what I do think that they can do is surface Cyborg Superman from Cadmus Labs. Because during season 1 we learned that Martian Manhunter was only emulating Hank Henshaw. So he's like a good person masquerading as a really bad person. But the real bad Hank Henshaw is still alive somewhere out there. He was believed to be dead, but he's still alive. I think they'll resurface him as Cyborg Superman eventually. So in that same vein, Kara's adoptive father, Dean Cain, is still alive, and it has something to do with Cadmus Labs. So, for like a brief period, I was like, wouldn't it be so amazing if Dean Cain came back as a twisted cyborg Superman? Like they found some way to twist it. I don't think it's going to go down that way, but I do think that Kara's father is going to be tied to Cadmus Labs this season. Dean Cain will totally come back on the show in some really fun plot. Like they brought John Wesley Shipp back on The Flash. They'll do the same thing with Dean Cain. So on top of that, it's getting even crazier. Like they're doing all the crazy stuff that I hope that they would do. Miss Martian is coming on the TV show. She'll probably be involved in some sort of secret white Martian plot. If you don't know who Miss Martian is from the comics, she's basically like a white Martian that survived the destruction of their planet who is masquerading as a green Martian. So green Martians, like Martian Manhunter, equals good. White Martians equals evil. So the big twist with Miss Martian is that she's like an evil Martian that's trying to pass as a good Martian in the Teen Titans. They have this big arc, but then she also tries to go good. So she's got this really complicated psychology that makes for really awesome TV. So it'll be fun to see what they do with Miss Martian this season. But I almost forgot, Legion of Superheroes. A lot of you saw Mon-El and you're like, hey, wait a minute, is that going to be how they're going to do Legion of Superheroes? Is that how it's going to work? So Mon-El is part of the Legion of Superheroes, but they're a team from the very, very far future. But during season 1, we saw Superman's Legion ring inside the Fortress of Solitude, so I feel like Mon-El will be like a backdoor to later Legion of Superhero stories. So get really hyped to see some Legion Easter eggs this season. But through the Fortnite crossover, it seems like she's going to be on a different Earth. So just to be determined in terms of merging her characters with the characters from Earth 1. So let me know in the comments, do you think that Mon-El will be the TV show's version of Superboy? in what do you think is going to crawl out of Cadmus Labs this season? Do you think that we'll see a version of Cyborg Superman surface on the TV show? The side note, big side note, I almost forgot. I've talked about this in previous videos, so most of you probably know about it already. But they are doing Lex Corp. Lena Luthor, who is the sister of Lex Luthor, will be on the show day to day. That will be played by Morgana from Merlin. So I'm really happy about that. Lex Corp now exists, like it's confirmed canon on Supergirl. So really, like Batman aside, there's almost nothing that the TV show cannot do from the comics. So it's going to be super weird, super serialized, and super intense this season. So I'm really hype about all the changes they made. It's going to be a lot of fun. But congratulations to this week's giveaway winner, Alexander H. You win a $20 Amazon gift card. Just be sure to private message me on the back end of my channel so I can get your contact details. Because it's been a couple days since I've done Marvel, my next video will be Marvel, so that should post later tonight. So get hype. So much awesome comic book stuff going to be happening with the TV shows this season. While you guys wait for that to post, you can click here for my Jason Momoa Aquaman teaser video, and you can click here to learn all about the Shazam movie, also connected to Justice League. So thank you so much for watching. Everybody, let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.